Toshi,
Yes.
pleasure to have you. So
Thanks for
today I
having me.
have Toshi Kameoka from Airwallex with us. And if we could just start out before we get into the conversation with a little bit about you.
So I am based in San Francisco. I've been with Airwallex for just over 2 years, essentially the first full-time permanent employee of Airwallex based in the US. And I've been tasked with growing out the US operations of Airwallex.
Great. Tell us more about Airwallex.
So Airwallex is an Australian founded company, about 6 years old. And our mission is to empower businesses everywhere to operate anytime, any place. And we do that by enabling a global financial cloud. So providing, empowering companies with different financial products so that they can operate in an increasingly borderless world without the barriers of traditional financial infrastructure.
So for those of us who are not super familiar with running a international conglomerate or a large, multinational company, what are the barriers? What are the use cases that Airwallex would really be able to serve?
So if you think about how money moves globally, there are disparate banking systems in each different country. They're not interoperable. There may be different currencies involved. And what we do is lower those barriers. So as if you were operating around the world and could open bank accounts in different countries.
So let's take one quick step backward and start with the status quo or the world before Airwallex. How did it work before your guys' product?
So if you think about operating in a global world, the banking systems globally are not interoperable. So that means that you probably can only open up a bank account in the region in which you're located or have physical operations. So that means, for instance, a US business can probably only open up bank accounts in USD. And that means if you have customers who want to pay you in other currencies or suppliers who want to receive money in other currencies, there's some forced FX happening along the way. And these FX rates can be quite high, they can be opaque, and you have no choice in the matter. Now, you bring in somebody like Airwallex, we've made that seamless in terms of operating globally. Because increasingly, especially with digital first or digital predominant businesses, you have a diverse customer base all around the world operating with different banking systems and different currencies, and same on the supplier side. And what we can do is make that seamless to operate in that environment. And we make that seamless by essentially allowing you to receive in various different currencies using the various different payment systems, hold those multiple currencies, and you yourself decide as a business when or even if you want to do FX.
Got it. So what I'm understanding is that you guys, Airwallex, are a really slick overlay to the pre-existing system that essentially allows all types of transactions across all types of countries within all types of currencies to be seamless.
Yes, and that overlay to actually build that is a complex matter. So this has a matter of getting the appropriate licenses globally, having the right compliance infrastructure, having the right bank partners or other card network partners and various other financial institution partners globally, and also the technology layer on top of that. So we can make that a turnkey solution where on the back end, we're taking care of all of that heavy lifting, and we make it easy for businesses to operate globally with us doing all the heavy lifting of stitching together these disparate global financial infrastructure systems.
Got it. So when I'm thinking about your customer profile, the only prerequisite to be an Airwallex customer is essentially you do business in more than one country? Is that right?
That's not even a prerequisite. So that is a natural use case for it. But increasingly, we can also make it easier to do business even within the borders of one country. And that's because not only do we offer money movement in the traditional sense of bank-to-bank transfers, but we have merchant acquiring and card issuing as well. So we are increasingly seeing, for instance, in the US, small and medium businesses where predominantly or even exclusively they're operating in the US, but they want an easy, flexible solution to issue cards to their accounts payable department or to their employees. And we can enable that as well.
So would you guys be an alternative to the traditional corporate Amex, for example, or is this a completely different solution set?
We can be a alternative or substitute for that piece, as well as your regular bank partner, as well as if you take online payments, your merchant acquiring partner. So we can do that, all of that end to end. And certainly to your earlier point, the more that you operate globally, either with customers or suppliers, the more powerful and the more benefits you get.
Right.
But it's not a prerequisite. We can also help you with domestic money movement.
Right. So tell me, if you're looking at your customer set overall, can you describe some basic demographics of what that looks like?
So we target both small and medium businesses and larger platforms. And so certainly from a pure number standpoint, the SMBs predominate. And then from a revenue standpoint, a much more balanced mix. And we see a lot of growth, particularly among larger platforms and enterprises.
Got
And
it.
when I say platforms, these are operators of multi-sided networks or platform businesses or marketplaces. So inherently, in an online world, they have a diverse set of customers geographically dispersed and suppliers geographically dispersed.
Right. Interesting. So I know that you're in charge of strategy for Airwallex,
Yes,
right?
for the U.S. or North American
For North
operations.
America. Got it.
Yes.
So let's take a look, now that we have a good understanding of Airwallex's status quo
Yes.
and what you guys do and what you're about, let's take a look forward. What's on the horizon?
So you'll see very soon additional product releases in the US that will take us to essentially feature parity with what Airwallex offers in our other markets. So we've been operating for a long time. We've been around for about 6 years now, and we've had these solutions out in the market in Australia, the UK, Europe, and Hong Kong, or Greater Asia, serviced out of Hong Kong.
Was America one of the more recent markets that you guys entered?
So I joined a little over 2 years ago, was tasked with building out the foundation. We've received licenses, money transmitter licenses across most of the US states. And we went live commercially with our Treasury and FX product just a few months ago. You'll see a release pretty soon around our card issuing product, and then probably early next year, our merchant acquiring product in the US. And so by Q1, you'll see the full suite of products in the US that we have in APAC and Europe.
Who is leading your revenue growth right now in terms of geography?
So Greater China, East Asia is leading that revenue growth, but we're seeing the Western markets rapidly catching up there. And we've had a lot of success in Australia as well. Now, obviously, a smaller market overall compared to a US
But it's
or
your home
Europe.
market.
It is our home market, and we have a large number of people based there, and certain of our products are developed out of that office.
So speaking of your home market, could you tell us a little bit about your founders and the impetus behind why they created Airwallex?
Sure. So we have 4 co-founders who met in university in Melbourne, and a couple of them were running a coffee shop in Melbourne. And they faced this problem of procuring supplies from Asia or other geographies, and how do they pay the suppliers in a way where it's efficient, the supplier is happy, they get the money quickly that they're owed, and that the supplies could be imported into Australia for this coffee shop. So that was the genesis of the idea, to understand that, hey, being in Australia, it's actually hard to work with suppliers or customers outside of your home geography. And that was why they started Airwallex. And we think of coffee as very important to our heritage as a result.
Oh, I see. That's the reason you guys have, I believe, a coffee bike at Money 2020?
Yes, we have a coffee bike stand here at Money 2020.
What is that? I haven't seen it yet, so you'll have to tell me.
It's an opportunity just for people to grab some cold brew coffee on tap and sit around and stand around and speak with our representatives.
Great. Now I understand the coffee connection.
Exactly.
I wasn't able to put it together before.
Yeah. People have said the cold brew coffee looks a little bit like beer. We would love to have beer on tap as well, but it doesn't quite tie to our heritage. So that's why we went with the coffee bike.
Got it. Help me understand your space a little bit better by telling me about some of your either direct or adjacent competitors.
So there are many companies out there that do a portion of what we do, but nobody who does that end to end, and in particular with a focus on multi-currency. So for example, if you think about card issuance, a company like Brex is doing that, but with a USD card, so that when payments are made in USD and settled to the card networks, it's in USD. Or on our Treasury and FX product, you have TransferWise, now known as Wise, who caters to consumers as well as micro businesses. But it's not really suited or built for larger enterprises in the way that we are. So I think that's the key distinction is, one, our product was built not only for small and medium businesses, but also for enterprise grade and larger platforms, one. Two, we have that end-to-end solution. So there's a merchant acquiring piece, a treasury piece, an FX piece, and a card issuing piece. And then three, and this is maybe the most important distinction, is full multi-currency support from end to end. That means we give control back to the business as to what currencies you want to receive, when you want to, or if you want to do FX, and how you want to pay that out, all with the same currency support. So we can eliminate a lot of unnecessary FX cost, friction, and time to moving money from one place to another.
So what I'm hearing is that compared to a lot of your competitors, the key point of difference is you guys have increased optionality and more flexibility.
Absolutely.
Whether it is in terms of currency and FX, whether it is in terms of the actual suite of services that you guys offer, or in terms of you guys being for different sizes of businesses.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Thank you.
Okay.
And the key thing there is because of that flexibility, that means lower cost, faster time to payment, and more transparency.
Got it. Okay, I think I have a better understanding of the space. One thing that I did want to touch on before we end today is the embedded tech component.
Yes.
I know that that is very much on a spectrum. It can be anything from warranties when you buy your iPhone to something much, much more disparate. So tell me about how embedded tech plays into the Airwallex product.
Sure. So everything that I've just described, we offer that directly to a customer of ours. But we also have a structure, something that we call scale, where we work with operators of multi-sided networks. So they could run a marketplace like an eBay, or they could run e-commerce software like a Shopify, or an online education platform, or even a creator economy or influencer platform. These operators have downstream customers or suppliers, business partners. And what they can do is embed our services, everything I described from acquiring to treasury to FX to issuing, on their platform. They control the front end. We take care of all the back end.
Can you give me a specific example of that? So say, for example, I am running a two-sided marketplace for students and tutors.
Yes.
How would that particular marketplace be able to embed Airwallex into their system?
So let's say this marketplace has student customers all over the world and the instructors all over the world. That means they receive money in different countries and they would prefer to receive money in different currencies or pay as well. What they could do, or your marketplace could do, is embed our services and offer a multi-currency wallet for, say, the instructors, so that they can receive it from all their various students and their share of the revenue.
And then cash it out in the local currency that they need.
But even before they cash out, they can hold it, and they may decide, okay, I hold all these different currencies. Some of it, maybe I want to convert back to my home currency and cash out, withdraw to their own bank account. But actually, as an instructor, I procure other supplies from some other third country. And so actually, I don't want to convert that to my home currency and then reconvert it to pay out. I can bring it in natively, and maybe there's no FX involved at all because I have students in that country and I have suppliers in that country that I need to pay, but I don't have operations there. So there's no other way without somebody like Airwallex or Airwallex embedded into this marketplace to be able to receive that same currency like for like and pay it to the supplier. And we've enabled that. And what that now means is that your marketplace is that much more powerful and a better place for instructors and even students to come to. Now, obviously, students are going to care about the content or the instruction, no content. But for instructors, they may have a choice. Why do they want to work with you, or do they want to work with another education marketplace? But you make it so that they retain more of their earnings and don't have value leakage to big banks or unnecessary FX fees. So that makes it that much more attractive to be an instructor on your platform. So more instructors means more content equals more students. So it's good for the students, good for the instructors, good for your marketplace, and good for Airwallex as powering the digital wallet there.
Got it. So what are the primary headwinds that you are experiencing when you're thinking about gaining market share, increasing revenue, increasing people's awareness of Airwallex and the services that you guys offer? Because it's definitely not intuitive.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I would say that is exactly the headwind that we face. Is there's so much that we do that you can describe it at a high level and then it doesn't necessarily sound that differentiated. As we spoke earlier, it may seem like there are a lot other companies out there doing the same thing. Or you can get so far into the weeds that it gets very
Confusing.
Technical and we're talking about regulatory limitations and different currency controls or whatnot. And so finding that right level of abstraction depending on the audience, I think that's an important skill that our sales team, for instance, has mastered, to say, hey, let's modulate that to the appropriate level of detail depending on the audience. And I think that's an important thing for us to promulgate especially as we enter into a new market like North America.
Got it. And that's primarily what you guys are going to be focusing on in the years coming, right?
Yes, it's really for us globally to expand our geographic footprint, and that's both in terms of our physical office space, our office presence, our team presence, as well as our support for different currencies and countries for money coming in and out. That's one. Two, expanding the breadth of our product offering. So it's already pretty broad and we do a lot, but within each of those verticals or pillars of our product, there's a lot that you can do, as well as new ways to think about money movement or the data that we are seeing throughout that whole money movement chain or money chain, value chain. How can we apply that data to provide better products? So maybe something like lending or credit might be in the future for us as well. So that's also important. And then even within our existing markets, there's so much untapped demand where, especially with embedded fintech, it's the forward-looking platforms that are starting to think about embedding fintech, even though they themselves are not financial institutions. And we're going to increasingly see across various industries more and more forward-thinking platforms who want to embed fintech. And so we're here to help those companies not only embed that, but help them grow across the entire globe.
Got it. Thank you so much for spending time with me, Toshi.
Hey, thank you
We're
for having
excited
me.
to see more from Airwallex, so I appreciate you coming here and talking to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.